Hey everyone, I'm Brett, and welcome to Nightwood Guns. Today we're finally taking a look at the Diamondback SDR, or self-defense revolver. I've been looking at quite a few revolvers recently, and quality control has been mostly miss. And because of that, a lot of you asked to see a review on the SDR, and I have to admit, I was curious myself because we're looking at, on paper, a near perfect carry revolver, considering it is roughly J-frame sized and 6 shots chambered in .357 Magnum. And when I saw that they announced this exclusive TALO Edition, well, I had to have one. So in today's video, I'm going to go over the features along with the pros and the cons. Yes, I unfortunately had some problems with this revolver, and I was a bit surprised by that because although there aren't many of these in circulation, it seems like they had a very good reputation. The main problem is that it's a biter.
He's a biter.
What's wrong, Mini-Me? Something you want to tell us? Teething.
But we'll go over that and much more in this video. It was a 400 round review, which I know I normally do 1,000 round reviews for pistols, but 38 and .357 Magnum ammo is just a tad pricier than 9mm, but it was 250 rounds of .38 Special, along with 150 rounds of .357 Magnum, and a big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. Your memberships over there directly supported today's video, so a big thank you. I picked this SDR up myself, so there are no strings attached whatsoever, and a big thank you to the YouTube channel Founders Armory AZ. He's just posted a few shorts over there, but he is a very close friend, and he was instrumental in helping me find one of these new TALO editions, and I'll drop that in the link below as well. Now, hopping into the review, this new TALO edition is two-tone, so half black nitride, half bead blast stainless steel accents, and the 2-inch variant comes with a bobbed hammer. I just think the aesthetics on this are so clean. Even someone who's not really a revolver person would look at this and be like, yeah, that's pretty neat. And the cool thing about the bobbed hammer on this is in a pinch, you could still cock it and rock it in single action. And if you don't know, the reason you would bob a hammer and get rid of the spur used to cock the hammer is so that it doesn't snag on anything when you're drawing it. So if you're carrying off body in a pocket holster or even inside the waistband, you don't want to risk that hammer spur catching on your shirt on the way out. This just helps ensure a smooth draw with no snags. Now, setting aside the unique features to the TALO, let's hop into the nitty-gritty of the SDR itself. My first impressions of this revolver were extremely strong. Picking it up, pointing it, dry firing it, this instantly became my favorite carry revolver of all time. But I kind of changed my mind when I got out to the range and was actually shooting the thing, and it was making me bleed a little bit. This thing's probably gonna have to go back to the factory. So first of all, since it's roughly J-frame sized, it completely disappears on your body and will work in many J-frame holsters, as long as they're leather holsters. Kydex is a little too form-fitting, and there's a little bit of a difference in the frame around the trigger guard area where it's just not gonna push into a Kydex J-frame holster. But I had this Galco handy. I think it's a Tuck and Go is what it's called, and it's for a J-frame, and it fits in there like it was made for it. In this roughly J-frame size revolver, we're getting 6 shots chambered in .357 Magnum, so whether you wanna run 38s, 38 plus P, or full-on Bubba's Pissin' Hot Buffalo Bore .357 Magnum, the world is your oyster. Also, this is surprisingly lightweight for a stainless steel .357 Magnum revolver, coming in at roughly 21 ounces. And you can tell they shaved off a lot of weight with the fluting of the cylinder, which looks very similar to a Ruger LCR. We have a push-button cylinder release that is very similar to the Kimber K6S or K6XS. It is rocking a one-piece barrel with a 45-degree target crown. This thing was extremely accurate. We'll talk about the sights a little later on, but at the very least, you could bench this thing and shoot pretty tight groups, despite its 2-inch barrel. Diamondback also makes a 3-inch variant of this revolver, which I would also be interested in checking out. Of course, one of the biggest pros of moving in this direction is there is no internal lock on this whatsoever, so that's always a plus. A cool and unique feature in this price range on the SDR is it has a fully captured cylinder and crane link assembly. You push this little button right here. With the cylinder open, and out pops the cylinder and crane link assembly. Right now, the purpose for this is just ease of maintenance, but I can think of some other very cool opportunities for this quick detach system. When I first got this revolver, the action and trigger was a little rougher than I was anticipating, but it didn't take it long in live fire to break in very nicely, and now I'm quite pleased with it. They also made the timing of this revolver lock in early, so it's easy to stage it for precision or long distance shots. So if you have a really tight shot that you need to make, it's easy to find that cylinder notch, stage it, and then simulate a single action trigger press for your precision shot. Now, this is going to be hit or miss for some people. I'm not really someone who stages triggers. I like a Smith & Wesson action that is smooth as butter all the way through. Well, at least it should be. The older ones are. Because when it locks in early to make it easier to stage like that, it's similar to what I mentioned in my Kimber K6S review, where the trigger pull can kind of feel like ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk as it's staging early and then you're pressing through it. It almost feels like there's a hitch in the trigger press as you're pulling through. But at this point, I'm just spoiled with older Smith & Wessons with tuned actions where I can just easily touch off a smooth shot double action. Overall, I would give the trigger and action on this like a B+. It's good. It's similar to the Kimber K6S trigger, but I would give the slight edge to the Kimber. The sights on this are okay, but hard to criticize because, I mean, it's actually a real, honest to God set of sights. Personally, for me, I would have preferred a blacked out rear and the fiber optic front, but instead it's a fiber optic front with fiber optic rears. I just prefer to use the front sight almost like a red dot, target focused, and use that front sight as reference. And when I have the two green fibers closer to me competing with the red fiber up front, it's more work for my brain to do. I mean, it's not the end of the world by any means, but I would have preferred a blacked out serrated rear myself. The front sight is pinned and the rear sight is dovetail cut, but as far as I'm aware of, there aren't really any aftermarket options if you want to switch sights. So unless you want to modify something to make it work, you're pretty much running the 3 fiber optic dots of competing colors. The one thing that I really want to drive home is not only are the aesthetics on point, especially with the TALO Edition, the ergonomics are so good. This thing points very naturally, feels great in hand, and doesn't have any sharp corners or edges to catch on anything. It is just completely melted, dehorned, smooth all around for a smooth draw. It just balances extremely well in the hand. You hold this thing and it feels like a quality piece of iron. It comes with a set of rubber Hogue Bantam style boot grips, which are pretty good. Personally, I think that the Hogue rubber clings to shirts a little too easily, making it print a little more than I would like it to. You could certainly do much worse. I mean, this is probably in my top 5 revolver grips for these J-frame size handguns. I think to keep up with the times, it would have been really cool if they had hammer forged grips on this, especially on something special like the TALO Edition. But this is close enough to a J-frame that most J-frame grips will work on this, and if they won't, you can probably modify them a little bit to make them work. As far as shootability, reliability, and performance, this thing is right up there with the best of them. As long as you get a good SDR revolver, I would say that it is competitive with a good Kimber revolver or a good Smith & Wesson or Ruger revolver. And the feature set of being J-frame size with 6-shot capacity of 357 Magnum makes it stand out. Now, before we hop into the negatives, hit that subscribe button if you've been enjoying yourself or have enjoyed videos of mine in the past. It really helps out around here. And you can also hit that like, thumbs up button as a little bonus, and most importantly, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the SDR revolver and if it's one you would consider, or what revolver you would get instead. Now, hopping into negatives, I'm going to talk about the biggest issue that I had first, and that is this thing was spitting lead back at me. Now, it was mostly peppering my thumb, but it was definitely drawing blood. That's never a good sign. Now, the good news is this wasn't happening with 38 Special. The bad news is this was happening with 357 Magnum, so it was smacking my thumb pretty good. Now, normally what comes to mind when you have a revolver that's spitting jacket or lead out the side of the cylinder gap is that the timing is off, so the cylinder is not aligning properly with the barrel, or that the forcing cone needs to be opened up. Now, I ended up consulting with Nelson Ford of the Gunsmith Inc. He is the revolver guru. I took it into his shop. We looked the revolver over. The timing is solid, and the forcing cone is actually surprisingly opened up already. In fact, the forcing cone is so open that he even expressed concern with shooting a high volume of Magnums through this barrel. I'm not really concerned about it. He usually errs on the side of caution when it comes to Magnums, but still worth noting. The only thing that we really found when looking at the revolver that could be causing jacket or lead to be spitting out of the cylinder gap is the cylinder gap itself. Not only is the cylinder gap on the larger side, it's also uneven. On one side of the revolver, it is 8 thousandths cylinder gap, and on the other side, it measured 10 thousandths cylinder gap using a feeler gauge. And like Nelson said, the largest cylinder gap that he's okay with leaving his shop is 7 thousandths. So the larger uneven cylinder gap could be what's causing the lead or jacket to eject from the side of the gun and into my thumb. But a revolver should not be making you bleed from normal use, so I will still be reaching out to Diamondback to see if this is something that they're aware of and to see if it's something that they can fix. So then the question is, how common is this on SDRs? And it's hard to say because there aren't a lot of these in circulation. And the ones that are in circulation, I would bet not many people are shooting many Magnums through it. Now, luckily, I was able to find someone else in the comments on another YouTube video that had this same problem. So it has happened at least to one other person. So I will be reaching out to Diamondback about this, and I will update you all in a pinned comment down below. The next negative is every single type of ammo I tested in this revolver was shooting high. And this is where I wish I could get different front sight height options on this thing. I don't know at what distance and with what ammo they zeroed the iron sights on this, but I can tell you at all practical self-defense distances, it shot noticeably high. Next up, in my experience, it seems like shell casings tend to stick in the cylinder upon ejection. Now, at first I just thought it was because of the snubby ejector rod that is really short. Sometimes it's difficult to completely depress that to make sure the shell casings come out. And then something else that can happen on revolvers with a grip like this is one of the shell casings can get caught on the grip on the way out. But with this guy, it seemed like there were a couple of chambers that just did not want to give up the casings. And again, on an SDR or self-defense revolver, it'd be pretty neat if the casings would consistently eject. I don't know if they need to chamfer the chambers better or what, but that was just something that I experienced with mine during live fire. Next up isn't really a true negative, but it's something worth mentioning in this section if you're considering this revolver, and that is 357 Magnum is pretty stout out of this little guy. At 21 ounces with the short boot grips on here, it bucks a little bit. It's not as bad as a Scandium J-frame revolver, but it's a little worse than even something like the Smith & Wesson 640 that I reviewed on the channel here that's just a few ounces heavier. So if you're planning on carrying 357 Magnums in this thing, just make sure you're someone who can handle a stout recoil impulse coming out of a little revolver like this. But I will say that this revolver is heavy enough that it runs 38 specials extremely well. It is very soft shooting, extremely tame. You could easily shoot 38s out of this all day, even plus P. Next up is going to be holster compatibility and availability. I really want a Kydex holster for this that has a concealment wing on it, and I'm having a hard time doing it because it won't fit in J-frame holsters that are made out of Kydex because they're a little too form-fitting to actual J-frames. And it seems like the one Diamondback is offering does not have a concealment wing. So at this point, I'm waiting for Harry's Holsters to finish the R&D on his SDR holster so that we can actually have a modern appendix carry concealment holster for this. If I were Diamondback, I would have actually collaborated and worked with Harry's Holsters and JM Custom Kydex, all the guys making Kydex revolver holsters, so that there would be a lot of options out there because, you know, this is not my first choice for a concealment holster. Maybe 15 years ago it would have been, but not today. Now, a few things I want to mention at the tail end of this section is, number one, you have this awesome quick detach captured cylinder crane system going on. Really cool opportunity there to include a fitted 9mm cylinder in the box. That would make them the only revolver manufacturer in this price range. I'm talking a couple to a few grand less than the next competitor that would have a quick detach cylinder swap system like that. Something else I want to mention is I think a 7-shot 327 Federal Magnum version of this would be one of the hottest carry revolvers I'd ever seen in my entire life. Even if it isn't that, imagine if they made like a K-frame that was a 7-shot 357 Magnum. I would just take my money, take my entire wallet. And finally, we have the question mark of long-term durability. There are not many of these in circulation, And of the ones that are in circulation, I don't think they're getting a lot of rounds put through them, so we don't really know what the lifespan of one of these new Diamondback revolvers is really like. So even though these have been out for a year or longer, it really is still kind of that early adopter phase, but at the very least, if something was very wrong with this, it would have broken on me by now, because that's when my Colt King Cobra broke on me and my Smith & Wesson 640 Performance Center failed on me. So at the very least, I've got a few hundred rounds through this of both 357 and 38, and it's going strong other than it ejecting lead into my skin. And again, I'll keep you guys posted on how that goes, because I would love to trust and carry this thing whenever I have a need for a J-frame revolver, which for me is pretty much as an around-the-house comfy gun, or a quick on and off run-to-the-mailbox gun, or even a backup gun, because like I said, on paper and in hand, this thing really is a perfect candidate for an incredible carry revolver, one of the best of all time. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video on the Diamondback SDR. If you enjoyed yourself, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit that like, thumbs up button, and drop a comment down below. It helps more than you know boost the video out. Things have been pretty rough, not just for gun channels, but all channels, with some changes around here recently, so definitely appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel further, the links in the description below are the place to be. That's where you can find my Patreon, along with my awesome, thrilling, action-packed short novels on Amazon. And I also have some fun merch that mostly consists of gun movie-inspired t-shirts. But other than that, it was great seeing you guys again, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm Brett, and this was Nightwood Guns. Nightwood out.